And you know, if you look at our law firm, I think you see more women certainly than you would have 20 years ago or 30 years ago, working their way up and being partners and playing important roles in the firm. So I think there's no question that in law, maybe as much as most businesses, there's been a big change. I mean, Janet Reno used to talk about, I think there were 3 women in her class at Harvard Law School or something. And Justice O'Connor used to talk about, she was second in her class, I think, at Harvard Law School in whatever it was, 1950 something, 60s, late 50s, mid 50s or something, and she couldn't get a job as a lawyer. She got a job as a legal secretary because she couldn't get a job as a lawyer. She ended up being a Supreme Court justice, so it worked out. So, but that's, you know, she's still alive. I mean, that's in the lifetime of people around. So there's a lot of change that needed to happen, and I don't think it's really all happened yet. And I think a big part of that, a big part of the challenge is still, I mean, this is all just obvious stuff, but a big part of the challenge, I think, at this point is less sort of entrenched sexist attitudes, which I think are, I mean, those are hard to sustain in the face of reality. You know, when you're working with people, you come to realize that they're super able and you depend on them, and so any sort of silly ideas about, you know, who's able to do what, and who's tough, and who's up to it and all fade away. But I think what actually has become the biggest barrier in law, at least, to women succeeding and achieving at the same level as men, really are figuring out how to deal with family issues, because so many women take a big chunk of time off to take care of their kids, start, you know, work part-time because they're balancing these issues and do it in a different way. They don't have the privilege, as Ann points out to me. Well, you know, good for you. You know, come home at 6:30 because you treat the family like it's a client. But you know, a lot of people, you know, work 4 days, or it's not 6:30. It's 5 o'clock, and there's just all different. How do we do this? How do we figure out how to do all this stuff? And I think a lot of women step out of the workforce, and then it's harder. It's harder to have the same outcome. So I think and that's not a legal profession issue so much as I think it is a social issue. I mean, how do we work that out so that women and men, you know, get the best out of all aspects of their life?